For those of you who have never done a clutch, I actually don't recommend doing your first clutch on a Hyundai Accent, but regardless, this tool right here, this plastic alignment tool, is very important. You have to use it, otherwise you will be struggling endlessly trying to get the transmission to go back into the engine. So what this does is it aligns this with this. Enough about that. Time to put this new pressure plate, and it's very important you pay attention when you put this disc on. So you notice these springs here are sticking out a little bit more on one side. So you want to make sure that goes on towards the transmission. So it says TM side. So basically you grab it like this and it goes on to the motor, or I mean onto the flywheel, and the pressure plate holds it on like that. Okay, so quick tip. Right here is the peg. There's 3 pegs on this flywheel. And then you have the bolts right there, and another one goes here. So the pegs go in the middle hole of these 3, and so forth over here as well. Here's the peg, here's the bolt, and there's another bolt. What I like to do is get them started by hand. And I like this tool. It's not a ratchet, but it allows you to go at any angle. Just get it kind of started by hand, nice and even. So you just get it hand tight, and then you can rotate it. It usually takes 2 hands. Put another bolt in, and you don't want to tighten these down. Just get them threaded in, just started, and get them all in before you tighten them. And then you're going to want to do a crisscross pattern. So put a little pressure on this, then go over to the opposite side, put a little pressure on that, and so on. That's a general rule with any kind of mechanic work. And like my old auto shop teacher told me in high school back in the 90s, God, I'm old. You want to do a crisscross pattern, so you go from here over to the opposite side and back. Big star crisscross pattern. You showed me how to do a spare tire. I'll never forget it. You don't want to go in a circle from 1, 2, 3. Do not go in like a clock pattern. So just a little bit at a time. Just get them all started. Somewhat even torque. Then you can start torquing them down with the impact. Just enough. So I cleaned off that sleeve shaft thing, and I'm going to put this new throwout bearing. So these little tab arm things on the back here go underneath our fork deal. They go underneath that, and this fork kind of holds those in place. So when you push the pedal, this gets pushed back and forth. So I'll put that in now for you. It's actually quite simple. Now I put my peanut butter on there, but peanut butter is probably not the greatest because this needs to slide back and forth a lot. Peanut butter can get gummed up. But see this spring back here where my thumb is right there? That spring grabs on to this knob right here. So what you do is you slide this fork. So you slide this fork onto the throwout bearing. You slide it on there like that, and then you make sure that spring, and make sure the spring is engaged in those holes on this fork. And you stab that through there, slide that onto the shaft, and then the spring that's behind this bulb thing is going to just kind of lock right on. It's actually fairly simple. Now, you could use peanut butter here, but I would actually suggest actual grease. Okay, so I've got the transmission all in. I'm putting everything in. I'm buttoning this up. Got the motor mount, bolt here, another bolt here. I haven't had reverse lights for a while. And so what I did was I took a battery and I hooked up the negative and positive to this little connector that goes, the battery, you know, my car battery hooked up the electricity to this, which sure enough turns the reverse lights on. So that tells me that this right here, this sending unit or this reverse light switch that's on the top of this transmission needs to be replaced. So pretty simple looking. Oh, and you don't want to drop. It's actually a 15/16 deep set. Well, close to that. This is going to work. It's going to be a metric, but whichever is close to 15/16. I'm going to pull this out. But while I'm in here, this is an opportunity to fill the gear oil. Why not? You don't want to put too much. Look at that. It's pretty dirty. Who knows why it failed, but it's not working. But down in there, we could put gear oil. So I'm going to put at least a quart, because that's how much I emptied. But the proper way to fill is on the side of the transmission right there. There's the fill bolt, fill plug right there. So you don't want to fill it any higher than that. But you can get a head start with this top hole. Now I've been running regular conventional oil in this transmission. Some people say don't change it if you've been doing it a certain way for years, but I'm going to go with full synthetic. Why not get the best? 75W90 GL4 is what you want for the 2003 Hyundai Accent with the manual transmission. So I'm going to put that in. Calls for 2.2 liters in this car, so bottoms up. I see it dripping out of the bottom, out of that hole, so it's time to plug it up and call it good.